everybody, welcome to Masters Fantasy presentation of our Week 16 Championship show. We're looking at some must-start flex plays, also some desperation plays to help you win the money this year. Take a little bit to introduce myself. My name is Jonathan, one of the commissioners here at Masters Fantasy Leagues, joined by two of our draft coordinators and two guys I go to for any fantasy football advice I need. Dynasty Al and Doc. What's up, guys?
How we doing? Not bad.
Yeah, real good. Before we get started, it's championship week. Just wanted to ask you guys how you did this last week 15.
So I had 3 teams going. I've got 2 left going in the championship week.
Same.
Same? Yeah, about the same here. Couple tough losses where I looked up and down the rosters. I had the better team. I think both of us got beat by Pollard this week. Which was tough. The guy picks him up at 12.50 and beats you, but it happens, man.
I actually had one league where I got lucky. A guy had Zeke in his lineup and did not take him out. I think I would have won regardless, but it was a nice blessing thinking, okay, he just took it to 0.
That's always good when you get that goose.
I had like the bad realization too, like when you go back and look in the leagues you lost and you see you would have won this week, so you would have been in the championship if you would have won last week.
I do that too, all the time. It was a couple of my teams I was like 6 and 7. I wanted to go back every week. I want to pick this defense. It's tough. All right, guys, going to jump into our must-start flex plays. Obviously, you guys are starting your studs at home. We're looking at some guys that are, typically flex plays, calling a must-start this week. Whichever you guys want to go first.
Al, you want to take it or you want me to go?
Sure, I'll kick us off. So my first one is LeVeon Bell. We saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire go down late in that game. It looks like he's definitely out the next couple weeks. Maybe he could return to the playoffs, but the Chiefs picked up LeVeon for a reason. They've used him, moderately, but I think this is their chance. They're playing Atlanta. Give him a big workload, see what he can do. I think the upside's definitely there, and I think it's a safe floor as well. We did see a decent amount of Darrell Williams last week, which is kind of depressing just because, we want to see Clyde and LeVeon get the points. But, I think LeVeon's going to get a good crack this week against a weak defense, so plug LeVeon in.
Yeah, I love it. If you guys listen to any of our earlier podcasts, I used to always do this thing on there, like when a guy was on the last year of his contract, what I'm going to eat? Like, the guy wants to know what he's going to eat next year, and that's what I really like about LeVeon Bell. I mean, the guy only has a couple weeks here as a starter, and and
it's mutual too, because the Chiefs got to, does he have enough in the tank where can he be a real threat in the playoffs, or do we desperately need Clyde back and all? But and for LeVeon, he's trying to. Where's he going to eat? Or what's he going to eat next year, and how much money is he going to make, and who's going to want him? So. I think it's a win-win, so throw LeVeon in there.
Yeah, I agree. And here's a guy just a few years ago, literally was asking for a contract at 2 different positions. Yeah. And it wasn't crazy.
Right. He was a generational fantasy player.
Yeah, almost a lot Hall of Famer type guy. I always say, the patience, the vision. Yeah. We heard it all about LeVeon Bell.
Oh yeah.
Here's his opportunity. Yeah. I'd actually love him as a daily play this week, too. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be highly owned. I think he's a must-start. Yeah. I really like it.
Yeah, I like that. So my first one, both my picks kind of have a little caveat of, if the starter or the other guy that's been out comes back this week, I don't feel as good about it, but I still feel pretty good about it. So the first one is Salvon Ahmed. He absolutely shredded the Patriots defense last week. I think he had 25 carries, over 100 yards. He looked absolutely amazing. And Gaskin was out with COVID. Gaskin's been banged up. Ahmed, I think, has earned the respect of that coaching staff. I think he's going to get a big workload regardless of whether Gaskin plays or not. He's looked that good, and they got the Raiders who, they're not looking too hot anywhere on that defense. So I really like him. I think even with Gaskin playing, I think he's worth starting in a flex spot, and you honestly might be able to pick him up in half your leagues too. So he could bail you out if you have injury problems like Clyde Edwards-Helaire or someone of that nature.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually think he has earned himself into kind of like 1A, 1B with Gaskins right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see them both on the field, even if he does go. It's actually a great take. I like it. He's a guy I've actually picked up quite a bit in dynasty leagues. Depending on what Miami does in the offseason, I think he has a shot to be the starter in Miami.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen, but we'll see. I'll actually go ahead with mine here. The first one I'm going to do is I'm doubling down on my Baltimore Ravens. That worked out this week. This week they get the Giants. I expect more of the same. I mean, Baltimore needs to win.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's Lamar Jackson time. He's going all out. I expect more of that this weekend. But I'm actually going to another team. That I think you can just start all of them for the most part. That's the Cleveland Browns versus the New York Jets. My first guy is going to be Baker Mayfield. A couple things I wrote down here about Baker in case you didn't know. Weeks 12 through 15, Baker Mayfield's the number 3 quarterback in fantasy football. If you just go from weeks 13 to week 15, he's still the number 3 quarterback. That puts him ahead of guys like Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers. He's outscored them all the last 3-4 weeks. He must start category this week. And the next guy my must start is going to be his favorite target, Jarvis Landry. A guy that I was having a real tough time start for most of the season. During that same time frame, though, weeks 12 to 15, Jarvis Landry, the number 9 wide receiver in fantasy football. I actually expect that to go up this week. I think he'll crack a little closer to the top 5 after this week. So start all your Ravens, all your Cleveland Browns. That's my advice for you guys.
Sure, so going off of that, I got one more Brown to throw in there. I think a lot of people would, obviously Nick Chubb's a must start every week, but I'd say Kareem Hunt too. They're playing the Jets, who just won their first game. It's going to be a lot of positive game script. I look for Kareem Hunt to get heavily involved, especially if they're trying to give Chubb a little bit more of a rest, as Pittsburgh's coming up next, where they're probably going to need to lean on Chubb even more. So I think Kareem Hunt, always a factor in the passing game, but going to get more carries than usual too, and the touchdowns could be hot and heavy against the Jets. So
I agree.
Right.
Browns are hot.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of that too, if Quinnen Williams, who had a concussion that last game, is out, I'm definitely all in, especially for the running backs, because you saw Cam Akers really start taking off, getting some big gashing runs once Quinnen Williams head to the locker room. So something to keep an eye on, especially if you got those Browns running backs. And my last pick, and like I said too, very similar to Ahmed. But this one maybe even more so, you can start him in your flex even if the starter comes back, is J.D. McKissic. And it doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback, whether it's Haskins or Alex Smith. McKissic is he's almost guaranteed a 5 to 7 dump offs. He just gets a ton of catches. If Antonio Gibson, who had that toe injury, still is out this week, then I really love him because he's just getting a ton of touches, a lot of little dumps, especially in PPR. It's huge value for a guy like McKissic, who, another one, he might be even on your waiver wire right now. Maybe not at this point just because Gibson's been out, but you're going to get crazy value out of him. It's a must-start situation. They're playing the Panthers. Are they playing the Panthers?
Yeah,
Panthers.
The 4 cluster, actually, yeah.
So there you go. Not even a great defense either. He's going to get a lot of catches. You got to start him.
Yeah, McKissic, a really weird case this year. A guy that I've seen picked up, every other week. He would perform well for your team, and then guys would drop him again anyway next week. So there is a good shot he's on the waiver wire. Just a guy that's got no respect this year.
Right, and we've seen this year, even when Gibson's healthy, he's been a solid start. So I think that's someone to keep an eye on for sure.
All right, guys, good stuff. That's going to wrap up our must-start flex plays. Going to move on to my favorite part. We're talking desperation plays here. Week 16, trying to help you guys win your championship. Last week would have been a Tony Pollard, plenty of guys. I'll start out with you guys, whoever wants to go first. Let's help these guys out. Let's give them a desperation play.
Sure.
No, I can go. So my first one will actually be Chad Hansen, receiver for the Houston Texans. And since he's been on the team, playing consistently 3 straight weeks, he's been over 12 points. And I'm pretty sure you can find him in most of your leagues as a free agent. Not many people respecting Chad Hansen as the 3rd receiver for the Houston Texans. But Watson likes throwing the ball. Their defense is absolutely horrendous, so they're going to need to throw the ball to stay in the game. And, the production speaks for itself. You can go and pick this guy up and start him and get, at least 12 points from the guy. That's solid value for a guy that's, available in most of these leagues. And I think he's going to keep doing it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so I've got a guy in a similar situation, and that's Russell Gage with Atlanta. Obviously, Julio's been banged up, so he's kind of been the number 2 behind Ridley, which Ridley's been tearing it up. But, last week, Russell Gage had I think the last couple weeks he's played well. I think 2 weeks ago he even threw a touchdown to Calvin Ridley, using him as a little wildcat quarterback action. But they're playing the Chiefs this week, and so like the doc said with Chad Hansen, so the other team is going to be playing from behind. They're going to have to throw. Matt Ryan got a little hot last week, so look for Atlanta to be throwing a lot, and if Julio misses the game, Russell Gage is going to get a bunch of targets.
Yeah, he threw a dime in that game.
Yeah,
too.
that was a beautiful pass.
It was-
Yeah.
I mean, right on the money. It was like a duck the whole way.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, guys. And my desperation play this week is going to be Giovanni Bernard. I mean, the guy that was on a ton of rosters with the Joe Mixon news. Guy's just been dropping him. He hasn't done anything. Just did really good against Pittsburgh this week. Good news for Giovanni Bernard. He's got the Houston Texans this week. And I actually had to go back and look. The last 3 games. And I just want to say all season we kind of sat here and made fun of Jonathan Taylor. Just wasn't quite living up to expectations.
Whoa, I never once made fun
Well,
of him.
yeah.
Well, not making fun of him, but
I defended him.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I mean, at one point I even got you to decide that you would take
Yeah.
James Robinson.
James Robinson over him. I don't think he looks really good right
Yeah.
now. All that started 3 weeks ago against the Houston Texans. 2 of his last 3 games have been against Houston.
Right.
The other running back that played him, sandwiched in the middle, David Montgomery. All these guys are going completely off. Giovanni Bernard is the next guy in line. To me, he's a great desperation play this week. And I'd actually consider him over quite a few starting running backs, too, against that Houston defense. They're terrible.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Talking about all those running backs who have been tearing it up against Houston.
Yeah, just week after week,
Yeah.
they've had no answer.
Yeah, that's a great play.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. All right, going to move on to the next section, which is my complete favorite part of the show. John Beast took off on us because last week I kept score on this. Right now, me and the doc are sitting there. We got 3 right. Dynasty Allen, John Beast, you guys were tied at 2. Maybe that's why he didn't want to come today. But I got some more questions for us. These guys are going to help you kind of, maybe help you figure out some stuff, who to start, who not to start this weekend. Mostly me and the doc, though.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right, guys. Going to start off with the first one. More receiving yards this weekend. Tyreek Hill versus Atlanta or Calvin Ridley versus Kansas City?
That's tough.
I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley. I just think, the Falcons, they're not good. They're going to have to stay in the game. Matt Ryan just throws to Calvin Ridley a bunch, and I'm not even sure Julio comes back this week. I mean, he's still banged up, so give me Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Calvin Ridley as well. I love Tyreek Hill, but I think Calvin Ridley will get more targets, more stats.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going Calvin Ridley, too. I was expecting both of them to take Tyreek. Interesting little stat on those. Look, they're only like 40 yards apart in receiving yards.
Wow, yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy. Ridley's just been
He's been really good.
He's balling, man. Yeah, absolutely. All right, next one here. We got more fantasy points this weekend. Jalen Hurts versus Dallas or Deshaun Watson versus Cincy?
So this is interesting because I feel like I'm kind of a little lower in consensus on both these guys, but I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. We just saw Cincy play pretty well last night. I think the doc is also going Jalen Hurts based on that reaction, but yeah.
Thought I was going to have the hot take.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Hurts' running upside is just too much. Watson could have a huge game, but that kind of depends. I mean, it's limited, it seems like. And even though the Bengals are the Bengals, I don't know. I like that game to be more, I don't know, closer than this one. And Hurts is going to have to do a lot with his legs and his arm.
And Dallas can at least put up
Dallas,
points,
yeah,
even though their defense is awful. Their offense
Watson might
is
not
really
have
good.
to do as much, basically.
Yeah.
I'll swing the other way. I think after 2 weeks, I've got a little bit of film on Jalen Hurts, and I don't know if Dallas is the defense to actually stop him. But I'm going to go Deshaun Watson here. I think it will be close, though. I think Deshaun Watson edges them out just by a bit. All right, next one, really fun one, too. More rushing yards this weekend. Nick Chubb versus the New York Jets, one of your must-starts. Or no, gotcha. Or David Montgomery versus Jacksonville.
I'll give it to David Montgomery just because I feel like he's gonna get more of the carries, and on the off chance Quentin Williams does come back, the Jets' run D's not awful when he's in there, and plus Kareem's gonna take some away, so I'll go with David Montgomery.
I got to be different if I want to catch up from my 1 point differential from last week. So I'll go Nick Chubb. I just think, the Jets really aren't that good. Even though their run defense has been decent, I think Quentin Williams will probably miss the game. And I think both Chubb and Kareem will have a lot of success, but Chubb's going to get the opportunities first. So
Yeah, good stuff, and we're all big Browns fans here, so I kind of try to set them up with this question. Figured they both take Nick Chubb. I was going to go David Montgomery. Hey, he just doesn't have Kareem Hunt to share the ball with. I kind of think gives him the leg up, but who knows? I mean, Nick Chubb's been amazing.
Yeah, he could easily get one big run.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last one's kind of just a defensive question. I know it was the top 2 rated defenses this week out. Top 2 rated defenses this weekend. I kind of want to help you guys out if you're making the decision between those two. We're going Baltimore versus the New York Giants or Cleveland versus the New York Jets. Either way, New York teams are getting beat up this weekend.
I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Me too.
Who knows? The Giants, as bad as they look, they still got inside the 10-yard line 3 times, and just because of poor decision making, they didn't get points. So I'm going to go with the Ravens defense. The Browns defense still scares me.
Yeah, good stuff. There's definitely going to be a shakeup in the rankings this week because I'm swinging towards Baltimore just to be the oddball. All right, guys, good stuff. That's going to wrap up today's show. Week 16, good luck with your championship, guys. Let's bring home the money, the hardware, the trophy, whatever you're playing for. Mostly bragging rights. Good luck, guys.
Yes.